Overpromised with Covino and Rich.
All right, welcome to Overpromised, our bonus show. Covino and Rich.
What's up?
You know we're on Fox Sports Radio Monday through Friday, 5 to 7 on the East, 2 to 4 on the West. And we have a very special guest today.
Yeah. I got to thank this guy because he provided probably one of my wife's favorite moments of all time. She went to the Super Bowl with her dad to see the Packers win. Partially thanks to this guy.
It was Packers win marrying you, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Clay Matthews, what's going on, man? How are you?
Welcome to the show, man.
Yes, I'm glad she enjoyed that. Hopefully, as much as I did. That was a great game, a great win for the Packers, and hopefully, there's more to come.
I'm telling you, it was one of those things that I can never do wrong in my father-in-law's eyes now because I was able to get them tickets and they sat right there. And I mean, honestly, is that something when you see those moments from that Super Bowl? Do you picture it in the first person, or do you like see the highlights like we do? How do you visualize that day now?
I tell you what, it really is a blur because that was my second year in the league. And being a wild card team without a bye, we had to win our last two games of the season just to get in as the sixth seed at the time. And then running the table, I just remember it was a blur, and I didn't appreciate it at the time just because I figured, hey, we're going to win the Super Bowl every year after that, which obviously didn't happen. But yeah, watching the highlights now, it's pretty cool to realize how difficult it is to not only make a Super Bowl, to win a Super Bowl, but not only make one. It's fun to watch, though, especially now that my kids are getting to the age where they're watching highlights and seeing daddy, make plays and whatnot. So I enjoy every once in a while going back and watching that game.
You know what's cool, too? Seeing him talk about it, you see the smile on his face still. Like, it's still there when you talk about it.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ultimate team achievement in the NFL, and I played 11 years. We got to 3 NFC championship games. 2 of those we lost, and the one obviously we ended up winning. Winning the Super Bowl as well. You just realize how difficult it is, even when you have, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks. So many things need to go in your favor, and the Chiefs are actually making it look real easy, which is a shame because it truly is difficult.
Right.
But you see that with the Ravens, and everybody probably picked them. This was their year with the turnovers, and perhaps it's another team. And now we have, I guess aside from the AFC, the NFC. Those are 2 teams I'm sure nobody would have picked before the beginning of the year. But sorry to hijack your show here, but Jaden Daniels is playing so well, and obviously nobody saw Saquon and the success he was going to have coming from New York. So that's why it's all about who gets hot at the right time, and these, whether it's draft acquisitions or free agent acquisitions, how different it is in the parity within the league.
I'm so glad Clay said that. It's who's hot, because I often wonder, like, does momentum matter? Because you look at records and it's like, does that even matter at this point? It's like, who's playing well now? Because I remember you guys, if I remember correctly, the year you guys won, you snuck in. You beat the Bears, I believe, the final week of the season, and they sort of were resting some players, and it's like they let you guys in. I remember saying, why are you doing that?
No, you're absolutely right. So we, if I'm taking it even further back, Deshaun Jackson for the Eagles at the time, he had returned that last-second punt against the Giants. I think there's a great video of Coughlin, I think, maybe it was Coughlin, yelling at the punter at the time. But by them beating the Giants, we had to win out the last 2 games, which was against the Giants the very next week. And then the following week, like you had mentioned, against the Bears, they had already, I think, locked up the 1 or 2 seed. They had the bye at the time. So they were, and yeah, we had a nice game there where we won. It was a tight, typical divisional game. And then, yeah, we just got on a run at the time. So, and like you had said, we were 8-6, ended up finishing 10-6, and just winning, those 4 playoff games and the 2 games prior to that. And it was we were the hottest team in the NFL. We went down to, obviously, beat Philadelphia, Michael Vick, go down to Atlanta. I think Matt Ryan and them were 14-2, and Aaron played arguably his greatest game ever. And then one more win against Chicago, and we were off to the Super Bowl.
Sweet. Man, Clay Matthews here with Covino Rich. I have so much I want to talk to you guys about. Let's talk family legacy for a second. You guys are sometimes known as the first family of the NFL. Recently, Ryan Clark was saying he was more excited to see his son play in the national championship than him playing. Are you guys really that tight where when you see your family members playing. Is that as big a thrill as you playing yourself?
Well, while I do enjoy watching my siblings play, or did at the
Yeah.
time watch my siblings play, I am now beginning to experience what I think Ryan is touching on, which is getting to watch your son play. And this is going to sound ridiculous, but my 5-year-old, he started flag football last year, and it was the first game, and we won like 34-31. And I got that feeling again, you know, that drive, and I felt like, oh, there it is. It's in there. And then, you know, obviously he started progressing, mind you, 5 years old, but keeping contained, you know, and we ended up winning the championship that year. But anyways, it was just a lot of fun. I felt that pride, and I can only imagine, you know, as and if, you know, my kids to decide to pursue whatever it is, you take that great joy and pride in the success they have. And then obviously if it is football, you kind of share that with them. So I'm just entering into that phase where the pride I have is with, you know, a gymnastics meet or getting a 10 out of 10 on your spelling test, but we're getting there.
Imagine being one of the parents at that flag football game, and there's Clay Matthews.
Right. You're like, "Oh, we're never going to beat this team." No, but he's right.
Yeah, and Randall Cobb is also an assistant coach. We had Mark Mariani, Tannehill coaches, a grade above us. So yeah, it could be a little daunting, but they ended up winning the championship too in a different league. So yeah, we got a little prowess
Yeah,
here.
I'm feeling like their team has a bit of an advantage here,
Yeah,
right?
you got-
No, but you said it, man. There's a sense of pride, but there's also the nerve-wracking feeling of you're rooting for them and you're not in control and you're just so nervous for them in a way. You're so excited at the same time. But again, thanks for being here. Clay Matthews on the show with Colt and the Safety Impact Award. Now, you're from Agora Hills, as you mentioned before. From Agora Hills, then USC, California kid, then you go to Green Bay. What was that transition like going from California, beautiful weather, then to Green Bay?
Yeah, I tell this story all the time, but when I was drafted, a 920 number came up on my phone. No idea where that was coming from. And the gentleman, I don't know who, if it was, you know, Mike McCarthy, the Ted Thompson, the GM at the time, whomever it was. But, you know, I hop off the phone, everybody's celebrating. Okay, it's Green Bay. They want to draft me. I go, all right, great. You know, Green Bay, I know there's a lot of history there. I go, all right, well, where's Green Bay? You know, well, I have to go on Google. It's in Wisconsin. I go, all right, well, where's Wisconsin? You know, as a West Coast kid, like
I know.
Midwest, like, no, so it was definitely, it wasn't so much a culture shock getting there. It was, I mean, it was an awesome place to play, an awesome place to succeed. The fans there are remarkable, but obviously, like you had mentioned, growing up in LA, going to college there, and going out to the Midwest. I mean, that NFL environment is so unique, and kind of was, you know, I had the opposite experience where my time with Pete Carroll at USC was very much ran like an NFL program, and then I go to the NFL, which is very much in Green Bay, which is very much a college like atmosphere. So I feel like I had it backwards, but nevertheless, love my time there. Awesome place. Love the fans. And, you know, it's always a great enjoyment for me whenever I get to go back.
Yo, Clay, speaking of Pete Carroll, thoughts on, looks like he's going back into the coaching world. Raiders, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think it's great for the Raiders. You know, it's obviously you have the you know, the Detroit coaches who took their jobs, and then it's kind of who's second fiddle. Now, that doesn't equate to success, but nevertheless, you see what not only Pete was able to do at the collegiate ranks at USC, but he brings that to Seattle, and they have that success for so long, win a Super Bowl, get to another one. And so I'm hopeful, you know, obviously spending time with Pete, that he's able to change the culture there. And you know, I think when the Raiders are good, it's good for football. You know, one of those historic, iconic organizations, and they just fallen on such hard times that it would be great to see him kind of bring them back to glory. So I think it's a great pick at this point. Like I said, I'm sure everybody wanted Johnson and Glenn, but that's no, you know, on any other coach that's hired at this point, that's no slight on them. But I think it's a great hire.
Now, when you watch the games this weekend, are you one to root for greatness, or do you want Josh Allen to get his first? Like, are you on the mindset of like a 3P would be cool, or are you thinking, no, I want to see everyone get their little piece if they can?
Well, I thought this was Baltimore's year. I thought it was I thought Lamar Jackson was going to exercise those demons, but Buffalo's tough, and I think we all thought this is what the AFC Championship game was going to be about. But as someone, as I just alluded to, found out how difficult it is not only to, be a part of a Super Bowl to win one, for a team to three-peat, and the amount of success Tom Brady and the Patriots had, I was always rooting for them because I thought it was so spectacular what they were able to do year in and year out. So I can't say I'm like actively pulling for the Chiefs. I guess I'm just hoping as a fan I'm going to be that guy instead I'm rooting for a good game. But I really am, because I think you got two, like you had said, Josh Allen getting his piece of the pie, getting his first chance, 4-0 in the regular season, I believe, against Mahomes, but 0-3 in the playoffs. So is he going to rise up to the occasion, put the team on his back? Mahomes, playoff Kelsey, is that team just destined to, be the next dynasty or continue that? And then on the NFC side, you got two teams that probably nobody predicted, before the start of the year. So, yeah, I mean, as a fan at this point with where I'm at, these are some good matchups that I'm going to be obviously watching both games intently.
As a fan and former player, when you're watching with your family, do you say to your bros, your buddy, man, I would totally have popped Mahomes if he tried that on me? Like, what's your mindset with that?
Yeah, it's it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. I'm not talking about the product in general,
right.
As far as like, because I love sitting down. My wife knows Sundays, like, I get the dishes done in the morning. So if banana bread needs to be made, I'm in charge of that. But by noon, I'm sitting down to watch the full slate of games until about 9 p.m. out here. But it is difficult at times to watch the referees throw flags on these hits that are clear as day, not roughing the passer fouls. If we're looking for a solution, I think there needs to be an emphasis on intent. Intent. And you look at, I want to say it was the Anderson hit on Mahomes, and, they said he hit him up high, clearly hit him in the shoulder pad or chest. Is that a close one? Perhaps. But then the next one where he darts back inside Mahomes, that is, and the two people go over top of him, immediately they throw a flag. Well, the intent of Mahomes running the ball is to draw a flag too. And you saw that on another one where he went on the sideline, he kind of slowed down, then flopped out of bounds. I just, it's, it ruins the game a little bit. And if they are going to do that, they just need to be runners. They designate themselves as runner. They need to take those hits. And if they don't want those hits, they stay in the pocket, throw the ball away. But what do I know? Your
solution sounds perfect, but I can't get out of my head. Do we need to try Clay Matthews banana bread?
Dude, what is with the banana bread?
Is this something everyone needs to try? Clay Matthews banana bread?
My wife put me in charge of it, maybe a year or two ago, and now I just got it down pat, and the kids love it. So we go through it a little bit too fast here. It takes about an hour to bake, that is.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I'm not trying to start
I'm
anything.
transitioning into that next phase of my life.
Yeah.
I went from like this caveman on the field to now, being real refined.
Dude, he's going to do a baking show. Call Guy Fieri. Let's get
I wouldn't want to stop him, but I also heard Bryce Harper's banana bread is pretty legendary. I don't know if it's a thing. Yeah.
Stud athletes make banana bread.
Favorite.
Yo, let me ask you about one of your former teammates who, my goodness, you couldn't turn anywhere the last year or so and not talk about Aaron Rodgers. Your experience with Aaron, great guy. You ever have issues? Like, what's your story with Aaron?
Aaron's a man. I love Aaron. And, I think what people are always, when they talk to me, they're asking for, what type of guy is he? What type of leader is he? And I've always said this, and I think it's the ultimate compliment. It just depends on what type of leader you want. You've got your rah-rah guys. Hey, bring it together. Let's break it down. And then growing up in LA, as you guys talked about earlier, watching Kobe, I always said Aaron was very much like Kobe in that he wants to crush you. And as a leader, if you want to be great, you got to follow him, And so I think that's why he had such a great chemistry with guys like Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, Greg Jennings, because they were on the same page. They sought after him. They knew he was going to get them to that where they wanted to go, which is, 1,000 receiving yards, Pro Bowls, whatever it may be. So, I love Aaron. I've got nothing negative to say about him. I know in the context of being on TV and being a leader, do his, ideas and what he has to say go against the grain, of course, but you got to respect that, he believes in this. And, for 41 or, however old he is, I thought he still had a little ball left in him. So I'm gonna flip this and talk about next year. I mean, is he coming back next year, or
I hope
is
so.
he
I think
going out?
I think he's got gas in the tank. I really do. And
I think he does too. But is it with the Jets or is it with another team?
you got to wonder where's that landing spot. And by the way,
maybe you would know. You have him on text message, probably right
Yeah,
there.
well, listen, we just I don't go to him and say, hey, what are you thinking, bud? I'm doing third grade fractions right now. I don't have time for that.
Right.
A few inside jokes here and there. The locker room talk that we have with some of the other guys is fantastic. But as far as what he's going to do, listen, he was in the league before me. He's still playing afterwards. He does him. But watching him, man, it was hard to watch the Jets this last year, but I always pulled for him.
Did you watch his documentary on Netflix?
I didn't watch his documentary. I lived it. So I mean, like, what am I going to see that's any different? But I'm sure it was great. I'm sure there's some insight that people, got people talking, and yeah, I'm sure it was great.
Is it weird for you to see him as a Jet? And was it weird for you to wear the Rams uniform after being in Green Bay so long?
Yeah, definitely. I think anytime you play with one organization, we were lucky in that, there's so much turnover in this league. And at the time we were in Green Bay, there was a draft and develop approach. And I think that's why we had so much success with the late Ted Thompson, our GM at the time, going to LA for that year. Although it was like I was going home. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows me as a Packer, and everybody will forever know Aaron Rodgers as a Packer, despite his 2 years with the Jets. You think about Brett Favre and some of these greats who go on to another team who have a little bit left in the tank. But it also kind of reinvigorates and re-energizes you when you feel like you got to prove yourself. And I know Aaron and I attended a wedding this past off season, and he very much felt that same sentiment when I talked with him. So, but we'll see what that means. Like I said, he's been doing this for 20 plus years. If he wants to continue to do it, if there's something else that's calling him, if he just doesn't want to go out on that foot, no pun intended, with this last year. So I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do, but I'm a fan of the game. I'm a fan of his, and I'll be watching.
Clay, when you come into the league, you're the new guy, fresh out of college. What's the difference in the locker room versus when you come into a new team, when you're a veteran, a Pro Bowler, a champion? Like, is it a difference of like trying to earn respect versus people kissing your butt a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, as a rookie, it's you got to watch. You got to keep your head on a swivel. You don't know what's going to happen, and try and earn your keep, so to speak. Not mess up. But when you're at the level where I was at, or with Aaron comes out, it's a different level of expectations for you. It's an expectation of being a leader, coming to a team and changing a culture, or at least showing the younger guys what it's all about. So that was fun for me in my year with the Rams. Watching these guys behind me, how I went about my business and achieved the level of success that I did. So I actually enjoyed that, not only playing at a high level, but also, kind of transitioning into that next step of being a mentor. And, we're still talking about Aaron. Obviously, when you're in the league 20 years, you're going to have more and more of that, as you saw with Love and, obviously some of these other quarterbacks and players with him.
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to talk about the Colt Safety Impact Award that I know you're working with, but I got one last thought about Saquon Barkley. Last week said he pinpointed that as his best touchdown. And you saw Mark Andrews
He said since like Little League, Pop Warner football. Yeah.
That was his best touchdown. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Mark Andrews probably had, his lowest moment where he said he was gutted. Do you remember your best and worst moments on the field? Do you try to just not think that way?
Yeah, well, I mean, we all remember our best moments on the field. We love to live in those memories.
Yeah.
I know the worst moments, you just try and I don't remember that game. But no, I mean, listen, it's you're gonna have these years like Saquon has had where well, maybe not everybody, but where you rush for 2,000 yards, but then there's gonna be times where you can't even crack 1,000. It was no different with sacks and me. You're falling into sacks left and right, and you can't sniff one the next year. So it's just part of the game. But Saquon's been fun to watch. I mean, there's been talk of him arguably, depending on how the Eagles season ends, perhaps in a Super Bowl victory as the greatest, free agent acquisition. And man, that just has to kill the Giants because they obviously made the wrong decision there. But Yeah, I mean it's part of the game, the ups and downs, and he's fun to watch this year.
The minute we said, "Oh, running backs don't matter anymore," then Derrick Henry and Saquon are like, "Yeah, what'd you say?"
Rich, you mentioned Mark Andrews too.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Clay, how do you feel about him having or expecting to deal with the press?
Yeah, listen, they always tell you it comes with the business, because there were times where I would not want to speak with the media. There were times where I didn't speak with the media. I feel like I don't, we don't owe it to them. So I hear what you're saying. I don't have an opinion strongly one way or the other. I think you do have to, respect his process, whatever that may be, because when you drop that 2-point conversion and everybody around the world, or at least watching that game, is going to say, hey, you lost the game. And then you have that turnover. I mean, that's tough, so let him handle it how he wants to handle it. He's a Pro Bowl tight end. He's going to bounce back. Yeah. And, a lot of times in the heat of the moment after a game, when you're, this the adrenaline and you haven't processed it, you haven't watched the film, and they shove a camera in your face, or a microphone, that is, you just want to make sure you have the right words, reflect upon it and whatnot. So like I said, it comes with the business. You have to respect that, all, the money that comes from it, the fame, everything that the NFL provides, that you just got to have to lean into it. And listen, he released a message on social media and said what he had to say. So it doesn't have to be right after the game. It can be when he feels comfortable.
I actually agree with that completely, right? Like, that's the toughest moment. You built this up your whole life to live that moment. You fall short.
He's a sure-handed guy. He's a bad
great
moment.
Yeah, he's a great pro. He's earned the right to be like, you know what? I'll address it when I'm ready. That's how I feel about it. Give the guy some grace. All right. Thanks again. And you know what? I got one more question. Yeah. You come from a legendary sports family. Is there another sports family that you look at and admire a lot? Like, yeah, they're like second to us.
Well, obviously you have to be in awe of what the Mannings have done, but that's the easy answer. That's the low hanging fruit, obviously. But I mean, you really have to look at the Watt brothers, and what they've been able to do, and not only be, to win Defensive Player of the Year. I think JJ 3 times and TJ once, and perhaps should have or would have won it, a couple other times. I think that's pretty remarkable what they've been able to do, especially at a pass rusher position, where I know when I was playing, Von Miller might have 20 sacks one year, then Jared Allen, then DeMarcus Ware. Was so hard. You'd have sustained success, but your success was dictated by your sack numbers, and so for them to continue to do that for the entirety of their career and be brothers, kind of speaks to how special that is.
And Clay, you're working with Colt. They launched the Safety Impact Award. Give us a scoop on this. I know they're donating money and doing a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, so my friends and I at Colt, we, as you had just mentioned, we launched the Safety Impact Award, which highlights the critical mission of educating everybody on safe and responsible firearm ownership. Together, we're highlighting nonprofit organizations who have shown an exceptional commitment to safety in the industry. And it's not only myself, it's Hall of Famer Joe Thomas, Super Bowl champion Adam Vinatieri, Fletcher Cox. We are all supporting our respective charities. Mine, I want to get this right, is Project ChildSafe. And we're encouraging everybody to go to safetyimpactaward.com. You can support the cause by voting for the award winner. Colt will donate $1 for every vote received for the winning charity. And by registering to vote, you have a chance to win prizes. One of them being in Colts, it's called their big game. I want to get this right. Safety sweepstakes, in which if there is a safety during the Super Bowl, then those who have registered will have a chance to win up to $100,000. So it's a cause that's close to me, having a young family, being an outdoorsman and a firearm enthusiast. It only makes sense to work together, and something that I hope everybody can get on board with. So just to reiterate, that's safetyimpactaward.com.
I had one question for you too, because you're from Agora Hills. For years, I've talked about Lincoln Park from Agora Hills. Were you a big fan growing up, or?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, literally, my youngest, who I was just talking about, we put on Imagine Dragons radio, because it has Lincoln Park can get a little heavy,
right?
But he knows, like, In the End and some of these other songs. But yeah, Lincoln Park, I forget who it was, but their drummer or guitarist had he went to Agora High School, and then I want to say Hoobastank was around the same time.
Yeah, Incubus, they're all from that Calabasas area. Yeah,
exactly. I want to say they went to Westlake. So yeah, man, Lincoln Park's great.
Clay, how old are your kids exactly?
I got 3 kids. Yeah. I have a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Yeah,
So,
I got 7. I got a 7 and a 5, so we're in the mix, man. My daughter's
we
7. You said gymnastics. Gymnastics is like the thing.
yeah, my daughter's all about dance,
Yeah.
gymnastics. I mean, she can't be busier. And then my youngest is like, he's the one who's probably going to follow in my footsteps. He's all, he wants to play every sport, flag
awesome.
football,
Nice.
basketball, soccer, baseball, you name it. But it's fun though, because it keeps me busy, entertained. And like I told you guys, it kind of keeps that competitive nature.
Yeah, no doubt.
there. So,
What kid shows, cartoons, what are you getting sucked into?
man, they love, well, they're just getting over Grizzy and the Lemons. It's on Netflix. It's like a grizzly bear chasing these lemons.
I know this.
But they're switching over to Ricky, Dickie, Nikki, and Dawn, which I'm finally okay with, because they're getting into real people and getting away from a cartoon. So, but yeah, that's kind of I throw them in the playroom and say, just watch whatever you want to watch. Leave Daddy and the football behind.
Yeah, Dad's making banana bread. Leave him alone.
Dude, a pleasure meeting you, Clay Matthews. You're the man, and thanks for your time and continued success, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
All right, thanks again to Clay Matthews. He was cool, man.
Good
Real
dude.
Cool. Real
Good
cool
dude.
to talk to him.
Always fun to do an extra bonus Overpromised. So, hey, if you miss anything at Covino and Rich, enjoy your football weekend. And until next time, arrivederci, baby.
See you in the Overpromised land.
Goodbye.
Peace.